and welcome to this week's episode of Saturday Discourse on NTA Channel 5 Abuja. Presidential election petition court sitting in Abuja has affirmed the election of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The five-man justices, led by Justice Haruna Simon Samani, gave a unanimous verdict that the three petitions lack merit. The Consolidated Petitioners and Allied People's Movement, Labour Party, and PDP. President Bola Tinubu has welcomed the tribunal verdict and called for collective effort to build the nation, while also stating his preparedness to serve all Nigerians irrespective of the diverse political persuasions, faith, and tribal identities. Our guest on Saturday Discuss, an international affairs analyst and constitutional lawyer, May Nasara Umar Kogo, looks at the verdict of the presidential election petition courts and what it entails for the present administration. We also have other informative stories. I am Ifeanyi Ezumba. Please stay tuned. The Federal Capital Territory Administration has launched a special operation to rid the city center of all forms of threat to security of lives and property of residents. Correspondent Onotu Yakubu brings us insights into the operational targets of the men jointly working together from now on to bring relief to the city.
Recently, the security architecture of the nation's capital, Abuja, became a source of worry for residents and observers alike. Kidnappers hold sway at the hinter areas, while various forms of crime and criminality run rampage across the federal capital city. These challenges necessitated this joint security special task force operation in a swift response. The operation, codenamed Sweep FCT, is an initiative of the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory. Commissioner of Police and Chairman, FCT Security Council, at the launch itemized its target to include ridding the city of street hawking, deactivation of illegal motor parks, markets, curtailing excesses of miscreants and suspected criminal syndicates such as one-chance, as well as total clampdown on activities of vandals and vandalism of critical city assets and infrastructure.
Whoever is arrested in the process of this operation will essentially be prosecuted, because we will not fold our arms and see people taking laws into their hands.
The team has 2 weeks to accomplish this task, the Commissioner of Police informed. But that was not before reminding them of the need to play by the rule books and proper operational rules of engagement. In Abuja, Onotu Yakubu, NTA News.
The decision to act appropriately with first aid can make the difference between life and death. As the World First Aid Day is being observed, Hakimat Aliu beams a searchlight on this global emergency procedure, which is an age-long response.
First aid refers to the emergency or immediate care provided when a person is injured or ill until full medical treatment is available. According to medical health experts, for minor conditions, first aid care may be enough, while in severe situations, first aid care should be continued until more advanced care becomes available. Commemorated every second Saturday of September, this year's celebration of World First Aid Day raises awareness about how and when first aid should be administered. The search for answers to questions regarding the day brings me to Simeon Wabwani, the FCT Branch Secretary in Nigerian Red Cross Society.
First aid is our core competence. We start everything we do. We are into so many programs, quite all right. But any Red Cross member, one of the first things we do is to make sure that you understand first aid, we train you in first aid. And that's why I say it's our core competence. We don't play with first aid. And it must be a skilled thing. You know, virtually everybody is a first aider. Virtually everybody is a first aider, because when something happens now, everybody goes out to assist and to help. That thing they are giving is the first assistance. But we, in Red Cross, we always like it to be that thing that you have learned and understand. So that's why we say it's a first skilled assistant given.
While emphasizing the significance of the day, Mr. Simeon noted that millions of lives have been saved through appropriate first aid. He added that there is need for everyone not just to have a first aid box, but to also try to be knowledgeable on how it is used.
Because if you learn first aid and anything happen, you know, suddenly around you, you know what to do.
As the world commemorates 2023 World First Aid Day, the focus is on digital innovations and how first aid can save lives every day, especially in crisis situations. In Abuja, Hakimat Aliu.
Rendering first aid to casualties and the needy in the society is one of the core mandates of Red Cross Society. The Federal Capital Territory branch of the Nigerian Red Cross Society commemorates the World First Aid Day in conjunction with a non-governmental organization in Abuja. Odiri Ogboru Arutere reports.
A young entrepreneur, Henry Donant, founded First Aid to assist victims of war or accident casualties. To this end, FCT branch of Nigerian Red Cross, led by the branch secretary, Simeon Wambani, is commemorating World First Aid Day in Abuja to train people on how to render first aid to victims and casualties.
World First Aid Day, and we are not just doing it alone. To make people know that first aid is something everybody should know, so that if you are there when anything emergency happens, you'll be able to take care of the casualties who are involved.
The day's event began with anaerobic activities in the early hours of Saturday, which gradually moved into a training on how to render first aid to persons with dislocation, fracture, bleeding, amongst others. The training officer, Nigerian Red Cross FCT branch, Omenikolo Ikenna, demonstrated how to take care of victims with bandages.
Today we dealt decisively with fracture, dislocation, sprain and strain, what you can do in order to help people in such a situation.
Meanwhile, Julie Brahma Women and Children Initiative, a non-governmental organization, says it is partnering with the Nigerian Red Cross in order to take the message home to children and women who are more vulnerable in the society.
Accidents don't occur just at workplaces, at homes. It occurs everywhere. So there's a need for us to come join the Red Cross to learn a whole lot about those basic skills about the first aid.
The 2023 theme of World First Aid Day is First Aid in the Digital World. In Abuja, Odiri Ogboru Arutere, NTA News.
The Presidential Election Petition Court in Abuja has affirmed the declaration and return of President Bola Tinubu as the duly elected President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The five-man panel of justices, led by Justice Haruna Simon, gave the verdict in a unanimous decision. Daily Atumbi reports that the court dismissed all the three consolidated petitions for lack of merit. The petitions dismissed are that of the Allied People's Movement, Peter Obi and Labour Party, and that of Atiku Abubakar and with the PDP. The five-man panel of justices affirmed the equality of votes cast in all parts of the country.
Presidential election on the 25th February, where President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was declared and retained as president. 5 political parties and their candidates filed petitions before the Presidential Election Petition Court sitting in Abuja. The petitioners at the initial stage were Action People's Party, Action Alliance, Allied People's Movement, Atiku Abubakar, PDP, as well as Peter Obi and Labour Party. During the pre-hearing section, Action People's Party and Action Alliance withdrew their petitions. The 3 remaining petitions were consolidated by the order of the court in line with paragraph 50 of the first schedule of the Electoral Act 2022. In the petition filed by Atiku Abubakar and PDP, the petitioners called 27 witnesses and tendered several documents. In its verdict, the Presidential Election Petition Court resolved all the 4 issues in the petition against the petitioners. In a well-considered verdict, the court dismissed all the 3 consolidated petitions for lacking in merit.
Today is a great day for Nigeria. The Nigerian judiciary had proved itself to be the guardians for justice and fairness against the sirens of deception. It's a battle between the will of the people and the forces of misinformation and disinformation. But democracy has finally triumphed.
Counsel to Atiku Abubakar and that of Peter Obi react.
The judgment has been delivered, but we have not received justice. Luckily, the Constitution has given us the right to go on appeal. This is a court of first instance, to go on appeal to the Supreme Court.
Our clients are dissatisfied with the judgment, and they have given us instruction to go on appeal.
The petitioners filed their petitions on 21st March 2023. In Abuja, Dele Atumbi, NTA News.
Joining me now in the studio to discuss more on the judgment of the Presidential Election Petition Court is May Nasri Umar Kogo, an international affairs analyst and constitutional lawyer. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. It's my honor to be with you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, sir. The first question, what is your general assessment of the result of the Presidential Election Court?
Well, it's a landmark jurisprudential pronouncement. It is an excellent judgment delivered by the eminent jurists. I call it landmark because in my over 3 decades of legal practice, I've never seen a judgment that is so lengthy, so detailed, and unanimously supported by all the jurists, and supporting every inch of the decision with jurisprudential and legal reason. You know, it is a point of knowledge. It is a point of education for all the lawyers in Nigeria, because for all the 10 points of accusations to have been cleared away under the consolidation canopy with very, very important reasons, it's a point for the lawyers to really go back to learn. The judges, normally the bench, is the one that teaches the bar, how to go about in the general practice of law and etiquette. That is the reason why they are the ones to pronounce judgments. And the judgment will go a long way in enriching the jurisprudential lexicon of political mathematics in Nigeria when it comes to issues that are difficult to be resolved politically. And it is part of the good thing the Constitution brought about under Section 36 of the Constitution, that whosoever is aggrieved should go to the court. And there are annals and stages under which, if you are not happy, you can appeal from sections 230 to 304 of the Constitution. Now, the fundamental thing the judges have brought about is the need for lawyers to abreast themselves of the developments of the law at all times. Fundamentally, that is the reason why all the 10 points of accusations were thrown away. Because if the lawyers had taken into cognizance the development in 2022, they wouldn't have filed all those 10 charges the way they filed them. Because in 2022, we got two historical developments. Number one, amendment of the Constitution. And number two, amendment of the Electoral Act. Now, under these amendments, anything that happens before the D-Day of the election, whether it's at the level of party primaries, whether it's at the level of campaign, whether it's at the level of whatever, anything that happens before the election is called pre-election. Any matter related to pre-election is directed to go to the Federal High Court, not Election Appeal Tribunal or Election Petition Court. Not Election Petition Court, but Federal High Court. Now, anything from the very day of the election afterwards, that is when you should go and file it into the Election Tribunal, then for you to get redress. And then even that one, there is a caveat there that you must file it within 14 days of its happening. If you delay it beyond 14 days, you cannot get remedy. Now, here are our very respected learned lawyers going about bringing about things of 10, 20, 30, 40 years back. When there is time limitation, when anything that happens before the election date is supposed to go to the Federal High Court. For example, all the 10 issues, number one, the issue of academic qualification. It happened long before even the party primaries. The second one is the issue of drugs accusation. The third one is the issue of certificate matter. Number four is the issue of the candidature of the vice president, whether it will affect the DC. First of all, the issue of the placeholder. Secondly, the issue of whether he was a candidate as the vice president without resigning for the other position he was applying for. You understand? Now, all these things, the Electoral Act and the constitutional amendment have streamlined everything. If you have a matter regarding issue of accusation of drug something, link it with NDLEA. Let them be the ones to file. If you have something related to forgery or issue of nationality, double nationality or whatever, report it to the appropriate security agencies, then they can take it on behalf of the state. These are matters that have no connection directly with the election. And those are the matters that ordinarily the regular tribunal should visit. Okay. Now, our lawyers now went about, thinking about the issue, the tradition before last year's amendment. The tradition before last year's amendment was that you can bring all those things in as articles of your own petition, and you can succeed in that respect. But this time around, the judges now educated them that it is no more the tradition you people are used to. This is the line it should go. We should restrict ourselves only to the election matters. And even under the election matters, for example, when Peter Obi was asked to justify how he won the decision, number one, he couldn't justify. Number two, there was this issue of his name was still a member of PDP, not in the registered list of Labour Party. And number three, there was this problem they brought, the issue of the results they tendered, without the results being stamped by the INEC to show that it's the certified true copy, when they were the ones that were saying that they were the INEC did not upload any results. Okay. And they were able to get it, and at the same time they confused themselves. So essentially it's a point of knowledge for lawyers, for the politicians, and for enrichment of Nigeria's democracy generally.
Okay, so another major area of contention in the petition before the tribunal was the failure of INEC uploaded the result, the presidential result. Don't you think?
Well, that is another area that I'm not comfortable with the judgment, because for the tribunal to now rule that INEC is exerting its independence without any limitation, it's a very dangerous judgment. INEC needs to really be regulated. For the tribunal to say that there is no basis to be considerate of any regulation, since INEC is, I agreed INEC is independent as per section 153 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic, but independence should not be absolute. If you allow independence to be so absolute, then there is that possibility for them to do whatever they like. And at the end, the nation has no basis for recourse. The nation has to respect whatever they do. I think it's not, I'm not comfortable with that aspect of the judgment. Those are the two aspects of the judgments I'm not comfortable. That one is one. The second aspect I'm not comfortable with has to do with the aspect of penalties or fines for frivolous filings of this thing. I don't think the court should have looked at it that way. The court should have looked at it from the patriotic angle that these people now assisted in the development of law. These people assisted in the development of Nigeria's democracy. These people assisted by respecting the constitution that says if you are aggrieved, go civil way, file petition.
All right. So at this point, what are your expectations from the aggrieved parties? And if you had the opportunity, what would you advise them?
Well, unfortunately, the system at the Supreme Court where they have the room to go on appeal is that you cannot bring new issues at the level of appeal. That is one. Number two, you cannot bring in exhibits or evidences that have been rejected. For example, about 33 evidences of PDP have been rejected. Out of the 13 evidences of Labour Party, 10 have been rejected. You understand? And then when your star witness has already been rejected, the only 4 bases upon which you can go on appeal and win, one of them is whether there is an error in law. Number 2, whether there is manifest portrayal of injustice. And number 3, whether certain things have happened that really marred the credibility of the results or petition. And then number 4, where there are some cogent developments that happened that were not taken into account of. I do not think, based on the solidity and lucidity of the judgment, there will be any recourse for these people, even at the tribunal, at the appeal level. But however, it's their fundamental right. They have the right to go on appeal. It will assist in enriching the lucidity and solidity of the jurisprudence which has been pronounced by the 5 learned justices.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Nasser Umar Kogo, thank you for being our guest on Saturday Discourse.
It's always my honor to be here to contribute for nation building. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're
watching NTA Channel 5 Abuja. It is Saturday Discourse. We'll take a break now. More reports when we come back.
Good evening, glad to have you join us.
Thanks for joining us on Weekly News Wrap.
Thank you very much for having me.
And it is on that note we welcome you to today's edition of the program.
We celebrate creativity, lasting impressions.
There's no book stating that this is the role for men.
On the news.
On the news at 7.
The news station NTA Channel 5 Abuja
would say have a lovely day.
Welcome back. Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has debunked the recent online media report that have surfaced, claiming that he planned to invite the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, and the Independent Corrupt Practice and Other Related Offense Commission to investigate the immediate past FCT Minister, Malam Musa Bello, in relation to certain irregularities in the award of contract and other matters. In a statement signed by the Director of Press, Anthony Ogunleye, the minister categorically and unequivocally stated that these reports are entirely baseless and without any merit whatsoever. The FCT minister, during his routine inspections of various projects within the FCT, has indeed expressed concern and frustration regarding irregularities observed in the procedure and execution of certain projects, among other observations, which he very publicly expressed. The statement adds that at no point did he contemplate or authorize any action by anyone within or outside the FCT administration to invite the EFCC or ICPC, I beg your pardon, to investigate the former FCT minister in connection with these or any other matters. The online story in question is nothing more than a product of the imagination of its authors, and it is clearly designed to mischievously sow discord and confusion among the general public. The highest statement of the The minister, however, advised the general public to disregard the story in its entirety, as it is nothing but a deliberate attempt to spread fake news and create unnecessary tension, as the minister remains committed to upholding the highest standards of integrity and accountability in the discharge of his duties, and remain committed to building the FCT of our collective dreams. The International Day to Protect Education from Attack on 9 September is an occasion to raise awareness about pressing issues of attack on schools, students, education, personnel, and teachers worldwide. It serves as a reminder that children and youth continue to face conflict, violence, and corruption to their education, undermining their peaceful and nurturing environment. Hadiza Godwin-Ebony reports.
Research indicates that without access to education, a generation of children living in conflict areas will grow up without the skills they need to contribute their quota to economic development. Educationists believe child rights to education cannot be safeguarded in conflict zones without education itself being protected. The day draws attention to the plight of more than 75 million between 3 to 18 years living in 35 crisis-affected countries, and to their urgent need of educational support.
A lot of things that are happening because education has virtually been relegated. I think we need to really put education at the forefront and then give it that priority. And by the time we do that, we'll find that every other thing will work out well. By the time we have educated manpower in the country, then this our population will be very useful.
The General Assembly resolution affirms that governments have the primary responsibility to provide protection and ensure inclusive and equitable quality education at all levels.
Hadiza Godwin-Ebony, NTA News.
The 3-day Fidel prayer for the late matriarch, Iyafin Munirat Adeyoyin Oladuni Adeniyi, has been held at her residence in Ishedo, Ela Orangun. The matriarch died on Wednesday at the age of 110 years. The late Mrs. Munirat Adeniyi was married to Papa Raji Ajagbe Adeniyi of Akinrun's compound, Ishedo Ela Orangun, in Ela local government area of Osun State. Popularly known and called Iyabadon, Mrs. Munirat Adedoyin Oladuni Adeniyi was born to the family of Chief and Mrs. Bankole Ajamu of Elekea's compound, Ishedo Ela Orangun. A trader and businesswoman, Mrs. Adeniyi was also a community leader, as well as leader of the youth when she was young. No wonder she is called Iyaiwe of the young ones. She is survived by children, grandchildren, as well as great-grandchildren. Among them are Mr. Adekunle, a former director, Center for Management Development, as well as Mr. Kayode Adeniyi, Assistant Director News with the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA. Up next is Sports Brief. We're sorry we don't have Sports Brief, so thank you for watching NTA Channel 5 Abuja. Good evening.